Part 6. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Di. Chapter 51. Ye Chen frowned and said, Hanjian, even if the paper from the Thousand Islands is not exported, the price of paper should not soar so much. It has tripled at the beginning, and it may double again in the future. It is really exaggerated. Can't we impose sanctions on the Lin family? Luo Hanjian said with a headache, thousands of years ago, our ancestors imposed sanctions. The Lin family and others stopped production directly for various reasons, causing the price of paper to soar more than 10 times that year. It caused a big disturbance. Although paper is not as deadly as food, it is extremely important for scholars. The imperial examination is imminent, and this thing is a necessity. Ye Chen said, does the royal family have a paper mill? Luo Hanjian nodded, of course there is, but the paper made by the royal paper mill is yellow, easy to break, and the quality is not so good, and it cannot be mass-produced and the price is high. The royal family does not want to break this situation, but the paper made is not competitive in the market and useless. Ye Chen wrote a list and handed it to Luo Hanjian. Hanjian, first ask someone to purchase a large amount of raw materials. I have a new paper-making method that can make better paper than the Lin family. Ye Chen said with a smile. Ye Chen knew what the Lin family's paper was like, it was still a little yellowish. Ye Chen, are you serious? Luo Hanjian said in shock. The royal family had wanted to solve this problem for a long time, but they had never been able to solve it. Ye Chen nodded, the paper made by my method is much cheaper, it should be less than 1/3 of the Lin family's paper. The paper making time is a bit long, but if the formation is used, it should be greatly shortened. The paper making technique rewarded by the system is ordinary paper making technique. The first step is to soak the bamboo for 100 days. The green skin of the bamboo needs to be decomposed and washed off. This is too time consuming. If the formation is added, this step can be shortened to 1 hour. These materials are very ordinary, I will have people collect them now. Luo Hanjian quickly issued an order, and with the power of the royal family, a large amount of raw materials can be collected in just 1 hour. Hanjian, the specific steps are written out for you. Ordinary people can operate it according to the above, the cost is the lowest, and the cost of setting up the formation will be slightly higher. Ye Chen smiled. If there is a formation to cooperate, the paper will be ready tomorrow. Hanjian, the paper-making technology must be kept secret. It shouldn't be difficult for you to keep it secret. Luo Hanjian nodded, I'll go out for a while. Half an hour later, Luo Hanjian returned, and the royal paper mill had already started secretly. The formation required is simple and easy to get. Hanjian, the head of the Lin family wants to see you. Nangongneng came in to report once, but you were not there. Luo Hanjian's eyes flashed. The head of the Lin family came to her at this time, and he must have put forward conditions again. Ye Chen, please step aside. Please ask the head of the Lin family to come over. Luo Hanjian said. Ye Chen nodded and went to the backyard. It didn't take long for Lin Kaiji, the head of the Lin family, to come to Luo Hanjian. Lin Kaiji is already more than 100 years old, but he has the cultivation of the God King realm, and he looks only 50 years old. Your Majesty. Lin Kaiji bowed but did not kneel. Ancient families like the Lin family enjoy some privileges. Luo Hanjian said calmly, Master Lin, I heard that the price of paper has risen sharply. What does this mean? I have given the Lin family half of the tax, and now the raw materials for paper making have not risen in price. Lin Kaiji said lightly, Your Majesty, the price is determined by the market. If the market is short of grain, the price of grain will rise sharply. If the market is short of paper, the price of paper will naturally rise sharply. It's a very common thing. Luo Hanjian suppressed her anger and said, Master Lin, what do you want to see me for? The paper tax is already very low, and it is impossible to reduce it further. Lin Kaiji sat down by himself. Your Majesty, I have a backache and it's okay to sit and talk. Luo Hongjian's eyes flashed with cold light. Lin Kaiji is too presumptuous. It's a joke that a strong man at the level of God King said that he had a backache. Your Majesty, it is entirely possible to reduce the paper tax. This thing is convenient for scholars all over the world, and zero tax is also normal. I think it can be reduced by at least half on the current basis. Lin Kaiji smiled. He was confident enough to control Luo Hongjian. There was no condition before. In the past year, Your Majesty has made a lot of money on grain and made a lot of money in the Oda Empire. There is no problem in reducing the paper tax. The paper tax was originally 20%, but now it is only 10%. If it is reduced by half, it will only be 5%. The Lin family can make a lot of money, and the country will lose a lot of paper tax every year. Master Lin, 10% of the paper tax is already very low. If the Lin family lowers the price of paper, everything will be fine, otherwise I will take some measures. If the Lin family suffers a great loss, you can't blame me for being ruthless. Luo Hongjian said in a deep voice. Lin Kaiji showed a mocking look on his face. He has seen the royal family's methods many times. Which one was successful? Your Majesty, if you had such ability, you would not have lowered the paper tax 4 years ago. Your Majesty, within 3 days, the paper tax will be reduced to 5%. If it exceeds 3 days, it will be reduced to 3%. If it exceeds 10 days, Your Majesty, you can only reduce the paper tax to 0. Lin Kaiji said arrogantly. In his opinion, Luo Hongjian was just a little girl, and he didn't take her seriously at all. The Lin family is an ancient family and has deep ties to many forces, and it is impossible for Luo Hongjian to directly send people to raid their home. Your Majesty, remember, 3 days. A 5% paper tax will do. After Lin Kaiji finished speaking, he walked away. Luo Hongjian was so angry that she had a stomachache. She gave in 4 years ago, but Lin Kaiji and the others actually wanted to force her to give in further. Hongjian, did the head of the Lin family have this attitude before? Ye Chen arrived in the front hall where Luo Hongjian was. Luo Hongjian took a deep breath and said, 4 years ago, my throne was unstable, and the Lin family's attitude was even worse. The national treasury was already empty back then, so reducing the paper tax by half would have a huge impact. The Lin family and others may have calculated that the paper tax could be reduced by half at most. Now that the treasury is full, they have made another idea. Ye Chen frowned and said, Hongjian, with Lin Kaiji's attitude, can't the royal family suppress it with thunderous means? Luo Hongjian shook her head. How can it be so easy? The Lin family has been inherited for more than 10,000 years and has a lot of influence in all walks of life. The marriage has made the relationship between the Lin family and many forces intricate and complicated, affecting the whole body. Many royal princesses have married into the Lin family before. Ye Chen nodded slightly, then he could only use normal business methods to deal with the Lin family. Hongjian, how long did you promise before the paper tax? Luo Hongjian frowned and said, 4 years, the time is almost up. The Lin family and others have probably been planning to lower the paper tax for a long time. Ye Chen said with a smile, Hongjian, since the Lin family wants to reduce the paper tax, why not just follow their wishes and reduce it to 0%? Luo Hongjian looked at Ye Chen doubtfully. Ye Chen said, Hongjian, the paper tax has been reduced so much, the Lin family and others should pay a certain price, right? For example, transfer some paper mills to the royal family. The royal family has a paper mill, but it is not large in scale and has insufficient production capacity. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Di. Chapter 52. Luo Hongjian looked at Ye Chen with a strange expression. If the production capacity of the royal paper mill increases, even if there is no paper tax, it will be useless if the paper produced by the Lin family and others cannot be sold. Ye Chen, I will talk to them tomorrow. See if they are willing to compromise. If they are willing, I don't need their paper mill, and I can let them continue to make money. Luo Hongjian said. The paper will be available tomorrow. She has to see how much it costs and how good the paper is. Also, if the Lin family and others are willing to compromise, Luo Hongjian, as an emperor, does not need to compete with them for this benefit. Yet. Ye Chen nodded. He knew that thinking from Luo Hongjian's perspective was different from thinking from the perspective of an ordinary businessman. Hongjian, you can invite some paper-making families tomorrow. Lin family. People from the 6 major paper-making families gathered together. They jointly monopolized this industry. Brother Lin, what does His Majesty say? Huangfu Long, the head of the Huangfu family, asked nervously. The price of paper soared 3 times, and people were dissatisfied. The Huangfu family and others were a little worried because they did not have the foundation of the Lin family. Lin Kaiji took a sip of tea and said lightly, everyone, although your majesty is the king, we have the final say in our industry since ancient times. 4 years ago, your majesty backed down, and now your majesty can only back down. I gave your majesty 3 days. If the paper tax drops to 5% within 3 days, the paper price will drop, otherwise we will double the paper price again. The head of the Tao family smiled and said, Brother Lin is right, we have the final say in this industry. If it were you, we would let the paper tax drop to 0 at once, haha. Lin Kaiji said domineeringly, if your majesty has not lowered the paper tax for more than 10 days, we will let the paper tax drop to 0. Okay. Brother Lin is domineering. Let's advance and retreat together. Everyone spoke up. When the old emperor was alive, they didn't dare to do this. The old emperor was strong and ruthless. Now they just think Luo Hongjian is easy to bully. 4 years ago, he forced Luo Hongjian to reduce the paper tax by half, but he was still not satisfied, and he wanted Luo Hongjian to reduce the paper tax again. Gradually, night fell. Ye Chen and Luo Hongjian finished dinner together. Luo Hongjian was a little nervous. She had allowed Ye Chen to go further in her heart, but she didn't know what Ye Chen wanted to do. Lying on the bed, Ye Chen hugged Luo Hongjian skillfully, and put his hands on Luo Hongjian's waist. Then Ye Chen didn't move. He didn't know that Luo Hongjian had relaxed her requirements in her heart. A night passed, and Ye Chen was honest. In his opinion, being able to sleep with Luo Hongjian like this was already very satisfying, and he didn't dare to think about more now. I gave you the opportunity, but you didn't grasp it. I won't give you another chance. Luo Hongjian glanced at Ye Chen who was sleeping soundly and muttered in her heart. If Ye Chen knew Luo Hongjian's thoughts, he would regret it and hit the wall. How could he know this? 2 hours passed. Luo Hongjian returned to Zilong Palace with an angry face. Ye Chen was lying in the backyard of Zilong Palace at this moment, basking in the sun. He had the body of the sun god, so it was good to bask in the sun more. Ye Chen, you are comfortable. The heads of the 6 major paper-making families have jointly made an appointment with me. You will go and talk to them later. Luo Hongjian snorted. She found that she, an emperor, was really not as comfortable as Ye Chen. Hongjian, give it to me. Ye Chen picked up a piece of paper next to the recliner and gave it to Luo Hongjian. There were words on it. Life and death, I will make a promise with you. I will hold your hand and grow old with you. Luo Hongjian silently recited, and the anger aroused in the court gradually subsided. The poem is good. Luo Hongjian commented lightly. She was touched in her heart, but she didn't want Ye Chen to see it. Ye Chen chuckled and said, Hongjian, I wrote the poem casually, that's not the point. The point is the paper in your hand. Luo Hongjian's attention was instantly focused on the paper. The paper was white, without a single yellowing. She turned to the back, and the ink didn't see through. Ye Chen pointed to the side. A quarter of an hour ago, the royal paper mill secretly sent these papers over. Luo Hongjian looked at the stack of papers next to her. There were probably dozens of them. The quality of each piece of paper was very good, much higher than the paper produced by the Lin family. How much does it cost? Luo Hongjian asked hurriedly. Ye Chen smiled slightly. The cost is higher after using the formation, but it should be only half of the cost of the Lin family. Luo Hongjian breathed a sigh of relief. With this paper quality, even if the cost is the same as that of the Lin family, it is absolutely competitive. Nangongning was near Ye Chen and the others at this time. Your Majesty, the head of the Lin family is here. Luo Hongjian said indifferently, let them go to the front hall, I will talk to them later. Yes, Your Majesty. Nangongning retreated. Luo Hongjian looked at Ye Chen and said, Ye Chen, I'm not joking with you. It's not a political matter for you to talk to them. Okay. Ye Chen nodded in agreement. He was very upset when Lin Kaiji was rude to Luo Hongjian yesterday. Today, people from the 6 major families came together. How can you bully your wife like this? After leaving Lin Kaiji and the others alone for 10 minutes, Luo Hongjian and Ye Chen entered the front hall together. Your Majesty, Your Majesty, Your Majesty. Lin Kaiji and the others saluted. They still need to do some superficial work, otherwise it would be disrespectful. Luo Hongjian said indifferently, no need to be polite, everyone. Please take a seat. Lin Kaiji took the lead and sat down calmly. The other family heads also looked calm. They had Luo Hongjian in their hands. There were many people who spoke for them in the morning court. They were not in the court, but their influence in the court was not low. Luo Hongjian said indifferently, everyone, the matter of paper tax will be discussed with you by the Emperor and Empress. Lin Kaiji and the others looked at Ye Chen with contempt in their eyes. Luo Hongjian was the Emperor, so they had to give her some face. Ye Chen was nothing in their eyes. Even if Ye Chen became the Emperor and Empress, in their eyes, he was just a lowly peasant. Their several big families have been nobles for thousands of years. Ye Chen smiled slightly and said, family heads, let me tell you clearly that the royal paper mill has a new paper-making technique, and the cost of paper making is much lower than your current cost. The quality of the paper is no lower than yours. Luo Hongjian looked at Ye Chen in surprise. Ye Chen actually said that? Lin Kaiji sneered, Empress, your joke is not funny at all. Lin Kaiji didn't believe a word of what Ye Chen said. They knew the situation of the royal paper mill very well, and their technology in this area was far behind theirs. In Lin Kaiji's opinion, Luo Hongjian didn't speak and let Ye Chen speak, because the king never joked. Luo Hongjian was not convenient to lie. Ye Chen said calmly, Master Lin, I'm not kidding you. The royal paper mill has indeed made a great breakthrough. If you lower the price of paper, the paper tax can continue to be maintained at 10%, and the royal paper mill will also control production to ensure that you have a lot of profits. Lin Kaiji sneered, Empress, do you think we are 3-year-old children? Again, within 3 days, no, there are only 2 days left now. If the paper tax is not reduced to 20% within 2 days, the price of paper will double the day after tomorrow. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Di. Chapter 53. Ye Chen looked at the other family heads. Guys, do you think the same as the Lin family head? Your Majesty is kind and willing to give you opportunities. I hope you will cherish them. The head of the Tao family smiled and said, Empress, we don't need such an opportunity, the paper tax is really reduced. If the paper tax is lowered, we will have greater profits, and we will naturally have the motivation to increase production. In the future, things like skyrocketing paper prices should not happen again. The other heads of the aristocratic families nodded. With the Lin family as the leader, they will definitely advance and retreat together on such a matter. Ye Chen nodded slightly. Guys, I understand your thoughts clearly. If you want to lower the paper tax, it's not impossible. The scale of the royal paper mill is a bit small. If you want to make paper on a large scale, you need more paper mills. If you give us a paper mill, you can permanently reduce your own paper tax. Lin Kaiji's eyes flickered. Empress, do you really mean what you say? The paper-making mill is given, and it can be built again when the time comes. Anyway, their technology is there. Reducing paper taxes will bring you huge profits in the long run. Ye Chen said calmly, Master Lin, your Majesty is sitting next to you, and your Majesty has said that I am responsible for this matter. Take out the 3 largest paper mills of your Lin family, and then take out 2 million taels of silver, and directly reduce the paper tax to 0 for your Lin family. The remaining 5 families will each spend 1 million taels of silver, and they will be reduced to 0 for you. Speaking of this, Ye Chen took out a contract. The conditions are written on the contract. Master Lin, I advise you not to sign. When you get back, you should calm down the paper price immediately. From now on, I will still give you 10% tax. Sign it, the output of the royal paper mill will be expanded, and it will be yourselves who suffer. Ye Chen said with an indifferent expression. Lin Kaiji looked at the contract that Ye Chen took out, and he said sarcastically, Empress, why does this paper look so similar to the paper from our Lin family? Our Lin family signed it? Taking out the 3 largest paper mills and adding 2 million taels of silver would cost the Lin family 10 years of profits. But with a 0 tax rate, it won't take long for the lost money to be recouped. Our Tao family signed it? Our Huangfu family signed it? The remaining 5 family heads spoke slightly. The 0 tax rate was too tempting for them. In comparison, what is 1 million taels of silver? Ye Chen frowned and said, Family heads, there is only one copy of the contract. You can all write your own copy. This copy needs your signature and fingerprints to leave it with His Majesty. Think carefully when you write. The maid brought pen, ink, and paper. The paper is all high-end paper produced by the Lin family, and they can recognize this kind of paper at a glance. Soon Lin Kaiji and the others all wrote the contract and put their fingerprints on it. Ye Chen said in a deep voice, Guys, His Majesty's seal hasn't been sealed yet, it's still too late for you to regret it. I give you the last chance. Lin Kaiji said calmly, Empress, if the royal family really comes up with a bargain, our Lin family will admit defeat. Ye Chen gave him the impression that he was bluffing. Just want to scare them away. Crack. Luo Hongjian took out the imperial seal and stamped her own seal on Lin Kaiji's contract. Ye Chen looked at the other family heads and said coldly, Everyone, please think carefully. Your Majesty, Emperor and Empress, our Tao family has thought it over carefully. Our Zheng family has thought it over carefully. The 5 family heads all arrived in front of Luo Hongjian, and Luo Hongjian stamped them all with the imperial seal with a cold face. Ye Chen said coldly, Guys, now that we've reached this point, there's nothing more to say. You can go. Lin Kaiji and the others left with a smile. In their opinion, they had won a big victory. Using short-term benefits in exchange for 0 paper tax for thousands of years is a huge deal. At noon, Luo Hongjian got the news that the Lin family had vacated the 3 largest paper mills. The money that several companies needed to spend was also handed over to the national treasury. Lin family. Brother Lin, what should we do next? Should we lower the paper price? Huang Fulong asked. Lin Kaiji's eyes flashed, reducing it? Why do we have to reduce it? Now we have a zero tax rate, and tomorrow we will double the paper price. If we don't increase the price, when can we make back the money we spent this time? The head of the Tao family laughed and said, Your Majesty, the Emperor and the Empress, didn't they say that the royal family has a bargain? There is a price to pay for deceiving us, and the Emperor and Empress must bow to us and admit their mistakes. This works. A person with muddy legs who came from the bottom of the family luckily became an empress and thought he was a figure. It's ridiculous. The other family heads spoke one after another. In the Tianyuan Emperor's palace, Ye Chen returned to Fengming Palace. From the words of Lu Zhongliang and others, he immediately knew that many powerful people had come to Fengming Palace and conducted detailed inspections of the people in Fengming Palace. Han Jian seems to care about me more. There was a faint smile on Ye Chen's face. Several powerful men at the level of the God Emperor inspected the servants one by one in detail, and found that none of the Queen Mother received such treatment. Although it's comfortable to sleep with Han Jian in your arms, it's still more comfortable to lie here by yourself during the day. Ye Chen lay down on the lounge chair next to the big willow tree. Chunlin plays the piano next to her, and her level is not bad. In the blink of an eye, it was the next day. Early in the morning, paper prices skyrocketed. Yesterday's price was high enough, how come it has doubled again today? How can we afford it at such a price? Soon the whole Tianyuan Imperial City was in turmoil, and so were the cities near Tianyuan Imperial City. It won't be long before the price of paper in the entire Tianyuan dynasty will skyrocket. There will be more complaints by then. Luo Hanjian came to Ye Chen and told him about the current situation. Hanjian, let the 6 great families stage the final madness. The 3 new paper mills should hurry up to make paper and put it on the market in a few days. Ye Chen smiled. At this time, the supply is not enough, and many people cannot see the true face of the 6 great families. The paper tax has been reduced to 0, and they have made greater profits, but they are still madly raising prices to make huge profits. Luo Hanjian nodded slightly. 2 more days passed, and the price of paper in the entire Tianyuan dynasty rose to 8 times the normal price. You should know that even in normal times, the paper in the Tianyuan dynasty is very expensive, and poor people can't afford it at all. The price is 8 times higher, and countless people can only sigh in despair. The Lin family and others are even more arrogant. The Emperor and Empress swore to us before, and lied to us that the royal paper mill already has cheap paper. Now 3 days have passed, where is the paper? Lin Kaiji said with a smile. He was drinking with some other big shots at the moment. One of them said, Master Lin, when will the price of paper come down? Lin Kaiji said lightly, the Emperor and Empress deceived us. Before the Emperor and Empress give us an explanation, the price of paper may not come down. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Di. Chapter 54. Fengming Palace. Ye Chen learned of Lin Kaiji's arrogance. Luo Hanjian came over and said it, and she was very angry. Hanjian, isn't this what we expected? Ye Chen smiled and said, if God wants to destroy it, it must first make it crazy. The Lin family is so arrogant, no one sympathizes with them when they are unlucky. Luo Hanjian lay down next to Ye Chen. She frowned and said, I know this will help the plan, but it still makes me angry that the Lin family is so rampant. The Lin family and others have enjoyed low paper taxes in the past few years. Don't they want to repay the favor? Ye Chen chuckled, Hanjian, how is it possible for a family like the Lin family to be obedient and obedient? Only when it hurts them to the bone will they restrain themselves. Were the Liang family and other grain merchants very arrogant in the past? Are they more honest now? When Ye Chen mentioned the grain merchant, Luo Hanjian showed a smile on her face. The Liang family and others are indeed honest now. They were hit hard before, and it took less than 10 years for the Liang family and other major grain merchants to recover. Ye Chen, when will you close the net? Luo Hongjian asked. The new paper-making technology can produce paper much faster, and a lot has been produced in 3 days. So urgent? Ye Chen said. Luo Hongjian frowned and said, people's resentment has been aroused in various places. If it is not quelled, something may happen. Ye Chen said, Hongjian, the real paper can't be released yet, but we can sell something else. What to sell? Paper futures. Luo Hongjian was confused. Ye Chen smiled and said, if we take out the paper now, the Lin family and others will be temporarily unable to do business, but their previous profits will not be affected. The 6 major paper-making families are still extremely rich. Hongjian, you announced to the outside world that you are selling white paper worth 10 million taels of silver at half the current price, but the delivery period is 10 days later. At 1/3 of the current price, we will sell another 20 million taels of silver paper. The delivery period is 1 month later. We are selling 40 million taels of silver paper at the price before the price increase. The delivery period is 3 months later. Luo Hongjian thought for a while and said in surprise, Ye Chen, do you want to lure the Lin family and others to buy? Ye Chen chuckled and said, no matter if anyone buys it or not, letting this news out is equivalent to telling the world that the official is confident that the price of white paper will drop to half of today's price within 10 days. Down to 1/3 in a month. The Lin family and others will naturally not allow such a situation to occur. They do not want to lose their pricing power. Luo Hongjian said, what if they don't buy it? Ye Chen said, if you don't buy it, it is expected that the public dissatisfaction here will definitely decrease a lot. There are pros and cons, and with such huge benefits, how can the Lin family and others resist not buying it? Luo Hongjian looked at Ye Chen. Why did Ye Chen have such a long head? If the Lin family and others really buy it, they will lose blood if the paper is in their hands. I will issue an imperial edict now. Luo Hongjian acted very fast, and it didn't take long for her decree to be sent out. The Lin family and others quickly received the news, suppressing rising expectations and delaying time. It's ridiculous. It's impossible to purchase a large amount of high-quality white paper from abroad in such a short period of time. The heads of the 6 aristocratic families quickly gathered at the Lin family. When such an official decree came out, expectations for paper prices were immediately affected. According to the imperial edict, a large number of blank papers will appear on the market in the next 3 months. Huang Fulong frowned and said, guys, it's not like the royal paper mill really made high-quality white paper, right? If so, their good days will come to an end. Lin Kaiji sneered, Huangfu family head, Your Majesty, they just want us to think so. How can new paper-making technology come out so easily? Besides, even if it comes out, can so much blank paper be produced in such a short time? Everyone, if we all buy those contracts now and stabilize the paper price for 3 months, we will earn more than we would normally earn in 10 years. We are facing such great wealth. Do you want to give up? Huang Fulong had a bad premonition in his heart. Brother Lin, several major grain merchants were cheated back then. It won't be our turn this time, right? Lin Kaiji said in a deep voice, Master Huangfu, if you don't want to make this money, you don't have to make it, but when the time comes, you must work with everyone to stabilize the paper price, otherwise don't blame us for being ruthless. Ahem, Brother Lin, I just have a little doubt. I'd better advance and retreat together with everyone. Huang Fulong coughed slightly and said. The 6 major paper-making families have always advanced and retreated together. If he retreats this time, the others may not let him play in the future. Well, let's discuss the share. Lin Kaiji said in a deep voice, our Lin family wants half, and you can divide the rest. The 6 major aristocratic families jointly took advantage of the contract worth a total of 70 million taels. They didn't have that much cash, so they borrowed a lot of money in order to take advantage of these contracts. Ye Chen, you expected it? When the bait was put out, the Lin family couldn't wait to bite the hook. Luo Hongjian came to Ye Chen and smiled. The 6 major paper-making families suffered heavy losses this time, and the wealth they had accumulated in the past suddenly lost a lot. Public resentment shouldn't be that strong anymore, right? Ye Chen asked. Luo Hongjian nodded. The latest batch of contracts is 10 days from now. We can still wait for such a short time. Ye Chen chuckled and said, in 10 days, in addition to the paper that the Lin family wants, we will save some more and put them into the market together. Nowadays, the 4 major paper mills are operating at full speed, and the output is very high every day. 10 days have passed in the blink of an eye, and the price of white paper is still 10 times higher. Everyone, it's harvest time. When 10 days are up, I'd like to see how the royal family comes up with so much blank paper, ha 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 ha. Lin Kaiji laughed. The heads of the other 5 major families also had smiles on their faces. According to the information they received, there were no abnormalities in this regard in neighboring countries, and there were no abnormalities in the country either. Family, master, someone from the royal family is here, saying they want to deliver paper to us. A housekeeper from the Lin family hurriedly entered the hall where Lin Kaiji and the others were. Lin Kaiji and the others' expressions changed, and they quickly arrived at the front yard. Someone from the royal family came, and the leader was a eunuch beside Luo Hongjian, who was at the 4th level of the Divine Emperor. Master Lin, you are all here, so our family doesn't need to make more trips. The leading eunuch, Eunuch Wu, said in a sharp voice. Eunuch Wu, where is the paper? If the quality of the paper brought out by the royal family does not meet the requirements, we will not agree. Lin Kaiji said in a deep voice. The others spoke one after another. They felt something was not good. It's natural. Eunuch Wu said as he waved his hand, and boxes of white paper from his space treasure quickly appeared outside. Hundreds of boxes in total. Lin Kaiji and the others are not weak in strength, and they all have spiritual consciousness, and their spiritual consciousness directly scan the past. This. Soon, Lin Kaiji and the others' eyes widened. They couldn't believe it. All the wooden boxes are filled with white paper, and each piece is as white as snow, even better than the highest quality white paper from the Lin family. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Di. Chapter 55. Lin Kaiji opened one of the boxes of white paper with trembling hands. Taking out one piece, his face became even more ugly when he touched it with his hands. He was a professional paper maker and his identification ability was certainly very strong. Based on his experience, the paper should not be see-through. It is whiter and has stronger anti-seepage ability. This paper is much better than the best paper from their Lin family. How so? How could the royal family create such paper? The faces of the other family heads were also very ugly. The head of the Tao family immediately took out a pen and ink, and he tried to write a few words. The ink did not penetrate. The paper is completely up to standard and even far exceeded expectations. Click. Click. I opened several boxes one after another and checked. Every box was the same. There was no problem with the paper in each box. Eunuch Wu said calmly, guys, this is a piece of white paper worth 10 million taels of silver. If you think it is unqualified, His Majesty will invite more people to check it together. Do you need it? Lin Kaiji took a deep breath and said, Eunuch Wu, there is nothing wrong with this batch of white paper, we will accept it. Excuse me, Eunuch Wu. Lin Kaiji and the others gave the first contract to Eunuch Wu, and Eunuch Wu quickly left with his people. The head of the Tao family's eyes flashed, everyone, don't panic. The royal family must have made this batch of paper at extremely high costs, regardless of the cost, just to make us mess up. If we let the price of paper drop now, the royal family can purchase our paper and return it to us. We are losing blood. Lin Kaiji took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, Master Tao is right. This batch is not very large. It is entirely possible for the royal family to produce such a batch of paper regardless of the cost. Can't we make paper of this level? The cost is just too high. Several family heads nodded one after another, and now they can only think like this in this situation. Master, it's not good. Royal paper has started selling white paper, and the price is half of what it was before we didn't increase the price. The Lin family's housekeeper came in to report in panic. The face of the head of the Tao family changed. Are Your Majesty, Emperor, Empress, and others crazy for selling at such a low price? The head of the Zheng family said, Your Majesty, they may want to let us know that they are not short of paper and the cost is low, so as to put pressure on us. What we have to do now is how much royal paper sells, and how much we charge. The Lin family housekeeper said, Master Zheng, I'm afraid this won't work. Royal paper's white paper supply is limited. Limited to 10 tickets per person per day. Lin Kaiji said gloomily, Go and have a look. Royal paper has many sales points in Emperor Tianyan City, and Lin Kaiji and the others went to the nearest one. There's a long queue here. Everyone who bought the paper was very happy. The price of this level of white paper is still low, and anyone who buys it feels like they have made a profit. Brother Lin, our paper. Huang Fulong looked hesitant. Many people might not have scolded them originally. The white papers in the market were all priced at high prices. If they continue to maintain high prices now, they will definitely be scolded. They are 10 times the price they were before. Official sale, only half the previous price. 20 times the price difference. The official paper quality is much better. Lin Kaiji's face was gloomy. He had already heard some people starting to curse, and more people would definitely curse. Everyone, this should be the method used by His Majesty and the Empress to influence us with public opinion and force us to lower our prices. We must continue to maintain high prices. Lin Kaiji said in a deep voice, they must bet, if the price drops, they will lose tens of millions of taels. The head of the Tao family nodded in unison. If they win, they will gain blood, if they retreat and lose, they will lose blood. As time passed, the curses directed at the imperial court from all parts of the Tianyan dynasty disappeared, and there were countless curses directed at the 6 major families. The 6 major aristocratic families gritted their teeth and endured it. In the palace, Ye Chen basked in the sun leisurely every day. The late autumn sun felt warm and comfortable on his body. Boom! Suddenly, power circulated crazily in Ye Chen's body, and his body and soul were rapidly strengthened. Ye Chen's cultivation level broke through to the 5th level of the God Emperor. The combat power has reached the 9th level of the God Emperor. It is only one step away from the strength of the Great Emperor. Cool. A smile appeared on Ye Chen's face. It became more difficult to improve as you went to the back, but he was still improving very quickly. And he has signed in again. Where can I sign in? Ye Chen thought in his heart. The sign-in effect at the demon-suppressing tower is good, but with the royal ancestor, even the 9th level of the God Emperor is now much weaker. Purple Dragon Palace and Fengming Palace have more sign-ins. Empress, there is someone coming from the Wanchao Palace. The Supreme Emperor invites you to go to the Wanchao Palace. Lu Zhongliang said respectfully. His strength is still at the 9th level of the God Emperor, and Ye Chen has not given him the demon crystal yet. Wanchao Palace. Ye Chen was startled. He had been in the palace for more than a year and had only been to the Wanchao Palace when he got married. And he had not seen the Supreme Emperor that time. Yes, Empress. Ye Chen was confused. What did the Supreme Emperor want from him? Ye Chen has always been a little wary of the Supreme Emperor. because he felt that it was totally unreasonable for the Supreme Emperor to pass the throne to Luo Hongjian. Luo Yuanmu is the eldest son of the Supreme Emperor, and Luo Yuanmu's talent and strength are not bad. The Supreme Emperor's strength is at the 9th level of the God Emperor, and my current strength is at the same level as the 9th level God Emperor. Soon Ye Chen arrived outside Fengming Palace. Doubts were doubts, but Ye Chen was not afraid. Everyone is the 9th level of the God Emperor, who is afraid of whom? With the 72 transformations, Ye Chen felt that he could escape even if he encountered an ordinary Emperor-level figure. Get started. Ye Chen got into his Phoenix chariot, and the Phoenix chariot followed the eunuchs from the Wanchao Palace to the Wanchao Palace. Luo Hongjian was in the morning court now, and she didn't get the news. The Longevity Palace, the Yangzin Palace, and the palaces of the emperor's other concubines are located in the southwest of the harem. The entire area here is separated from the rest of the harem by high walls. In about 20 minutes, Ye Chen's Phoenix chariot arrived at the Longevity Palace. See the Empress. There were already people outside the Longevity Palace to greet him, led by the old eunuch Ye Chen whom he had met before. At that time, Ye Chen didn't know the old eunuch's strength, but now Ye Chen can judge it. This old eunuch is actually stronger than Eunuch Yan next to Luo Hongjian, the 9th level of the God Emperor. Eunuch Huang, you're welcome. Ye Chen smiled slightly, and he became more vigilant. What does this mean, Your Majesty? He is strong and does not need protection. With such a powerful master around him, he is not allowed to help Luo Hongjian, the new emperor. Your Majesty, please come with us. The Supreme Emperor often practices in seclusion, and it is rare to take a break now. The Supreme Emperor has not met the Emperor and the Empress since the Emperor and His Majesty got married, so he asked the Empress to come over to enhance their understanding. Eunuch Huang said with a smile. Ye Chen nodded lightly, I am a junior. If you know that the Supreme Emperor has time, you should take the initiative to come and pay homage. Soon, Ye Chen followed Eunuch Huang into the main hall of Wanchao Palace, where the Supreme Emperor Luo Xuanhuan was sitting. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Di. Chapter 56. Junior Ye Chen pays homage to the Supreme Emperor. Ye Chen cupped his hands and saluted. On the second day after getting married, he and Luo Hongjian came over, and if they saw Luo Xuanhuan, they had to kneel down and offer tea. It doesn't matter if you don't kneel now. Luo Xuanhuan's eyes flickered. He thought that Ye Chen would definitely kneel down when he saw him, but he didn't. Haha, Ye Chen, you don't have to be polite. I heard that you are very good at chess. Come and play a game with me. We will have dinner at my place at noon. Luo Xuanhuan said with a smile, seemingly not minding that Ye Chen did not kneel down to salute. As commanded. Ye Chen nodded. Luo Xuanhuan smiled and moved to the chessboard, and Ye Chen sat opposite him. Ye Chen soon judged that Luo Xuanhuan's chess skills were only at the level of a grandmaster. He also showed his master-level strength and was inseparable from Luo Xuanhuan. At the end of the game, Luo Xuanhuan chuckled and said, Ye Chen, I heard that you are a god-level chess player. You are giving in to me. Let's play another game. You are not allowed to hold back. Yes, the great emperor. Ye Chen nodded. Since Luo Xuanhuan was looking for abuse, he went all out in the second set. In less than a quarter of an hour, Luo Xuanhuan had no choice but to give up and admit defeat. The divine level is indeed extraordinary. It seems that I will never reach such a level in this life. Luo Xuanhuan said with emotion, Ye Chen, I heard that you brought out the potatoes, and you also helped the beauty a lot. The national treasury has been filled a lot because of you. I have to thank you very much. Ye Chen coughed lightly and said, as long as the Supreme Emperor doesn't blame me for messing around, if these are considered interferences in government affairs, I don't have to help in the future. Luo Xuanhuan laughed loudly and said, Ye Chen, what kind of interference in government affairs is this? Besides, I have stepped down now, and I can't control it. The Supreme Emperor can't interfere in politics either. By the way, I heard that you are also at a god level in calligraphy. How many words can you write for me? Ye Chen naturally agreed. He felt that Luo Xuanhuan seemed to be exploring his bottom. There was a maid in the study who had already prepared pen and ink, and Ye Chen and the others moved to the study. One emperor through the ages. Ye Chen picked up the pen, and a few big characters quickly appeared on the rice paper. A domineering aura hits my face. Hiss. Eunuch Huang took a deep breath. This is such a flattery. Luo Xuanhuan looked at the 4 words written by Ye Chen, and his heart surged. Ye Chen, I can't afford these 4 words. I hope that the beauty will be better than the old, haha. Luo Xuanhuan laughed. Ye Chen, your words are indeed at a god level. Sharp. Luo Xuanhuan stared at the words written by Ye Chen, his eyes filled with joy. He liked these 4 words very much. The Supreme Emperor deserves it. I came here in a hurry without preparing any gifts, so I just gave it to the Supreme Emperor with this word. Ye Chen smiled. Okay, I'll accept it shamelessly. Luo Xuanhuan smiled and said, let's go, lunchtime is here, let's go have a few drinks with you. After a few glasses of wine, Ye Chen was drunk and hazy. Wine is not just any wine. Ye Chen suppressed his own cultivation. He only used acquired power, and he couldn't withstand the power of alcohol at all. Your Majesty, I can't drink anymore. Your Majesty, late, I will take my leave. Ye Chen stood up and staggered away, and Luo Xuanhuan did not persuade Ye Chen to drink again. Eunuch Huang, what do you think? Luo Xuanhuan said calmly. Eunuch Huang said respectfully, Your Majesty, when Ye Chen plays chess or writes, there is no strong power fluctuation in his body. Combined with the fact that he gets drunk after a few glasses of wine, he indeed only has an acquired level of cultivation. Luo Xuanhuan nodded slightly. After hearing about Ye Chen's situation, he originally doubted whether Ye Chen was a master in disguise. If a top powerhouse sneaks into the Tianyan Imperial Palace and becomes an empress, big problems may arise. This son has amazing talent, it would be a pity to become an emperor. One emperor through the ages, I'm afraid I'm still a little unqualified now. In the future Luo Xuanhuan's eyes were deep. Just after returning to Fengming Palace, Luo Hanjian came over in a hurry. She now cares about Ye Chen very much. The Supreme Emperor suddenly summoned Ye Chen, and she was worried. Hanjian, hug. Ye Chen pretended to be drunk and said, this is a rare opportunity, why don't you pretend to be drunk to take advantage? Why are you drunk? Luo Hanjian did not dodge when Ye Chen hugged her, but let Ye Chen hug him tightly. Hanjian, you smell so good. Ye Chen leaned his head on Luo Hanjian's shoulder, and his lips touched Luo Hanjian's fair neck. Luo Hanjian's face turned red, and her neck turned red as well. Ye Chen, you're drunk, go get some sleep. Luo Hanjian flew up with Ye Chen and soon entered Ye Chen's bedroom. Hanjian, let me kiss you. One kiss and you'll sleep. Ye Chen spoke in a daze, and he kissed Luo Hanjian's delicate lips. You. Luo Hanjian hesitated for a moment before being kissed by Ye Chen, who even stuck out his tongue wantonly. A few minutes passed, and Luo Hanjian left with a red face. Ye Chen was secretly happy. Although I had kissed before, it was just a taste, but this time I finally kissed her thoroughly. This time also let Ye Chen know that Luo Hanjian should have him in her heart, and her weight is not small. Otherwise, even if he was drunk, Luo Hanjian would never let him kiss her like this. Tisk tisk, My relationship with my wife has finally made a breakthrough. Ye Chen fell asleep happily. When Ye Chen woke up in the afternoon, he slapped his forehead and realized that he had forgotten to sign in. Wanzhou Palace is the palace where the emperor lives. Signing in there should bring good results. Ye Chen, go to Wanzhou Palace with me again. If you come back drunk, you have to go to the emperor to apologize. Luo Hongjian went to Fengming Palace again. Seeing Ye Chen, her eyes were a little unnatural. Ye Chen thought to himself that he just forgot to sign in, so he went to Wanzhou Palace again to make up for it. Hongjian, I remember kissing you. Don't say it. Luo Hongjian glared at Ye Chen. She was a little more relaxed when Ye Chen was drunk. If Ye Chen asked to kiss again at this time, she would never agree. Ahem, let's go. Ye Chen didn't tease Luo Hongjian anymore. It would be difficult to kiss her again if he annoyed Luo Hongjian. On the way, Luo Hongjian asked about what Ye Chen did in Wanzhou Palace in the morning. After listening to Ye Chen, she felt that the emperor should just want to test Ye Chen's bottom. 20 minutes later, Ye Chen arrived at the Wanzhou Palace again. System, sign in twice. Ye Chen said in his mind. It's a rare opportunity to come here, so it's a bit of a waste to sign in only once. It's not good to sign in 3 times in a row, because the chance of signing in alone the 3rd time is high. Sign into the Wanzhou Palace and get an S-level reward, 100 years of life. You can equip it yourself or give it to others. Ye Chen's eyes lit up. 100 years of life, this is very good. However, he can't use it for the time being. He has a cultivation level of the Divine Emperor and a lifespan of 700 or 800 years. When his cultivation reaches the level of the Great Emperor, his lifespan will be even longer. Sign into the Wanzhou Palace and get an A-level reward of divine cooking skills, and be familiar with all the major cuisines in the previous life. Hearing the voice of the system, Ye Chen's saliva was about to flow out. The food made by the imperial chef in the Tianyang Imperial Palace tastes good, but Ye Chen thinks it is not as good as the food in the previous life. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Di. Chapter 57. After coming out of Wanzhou Palace, Ye Chen couldn't wait to return to Fengming Palace to try his current cooking skills. Ye Chen, you stay in Zilong Palace tonight, today is my birthday. Luo Hongjian looked out the window with a somewhat lonely expression. Ye Chen was startled, today is Luo Hongjian's birthday? After entering the palace for more than a year, he really didn't know when Luo Hongjian's birthday was. She hadn't mentioned it before, and neither had anyone else. Hongjian, is today really your birthday? Ye Chen asked. He felt something was wrong, the emperor didn't mention it at all. Luo Hongjian said calmly, will I still lie to you? Ye Chen was thoughtful. Luo Hongjian was in a bad mood probably because of the Supreme Emperor. Even if there is no gift, it is still good for the emperor to give his verbal blessing. But none of this. Is this the so-called royal ruthlessness? Or is it that the Supreme Emperor doesn't really want to pass the throne to the beauty? Ye Chen was even more vigilant. He felt so weird in this situation. The royal family was ruthless, wasn't it like this? Hongjian, you didn't tell me about your birthday last year. Ye Chen glanced at Luo Hongjian and said. Luo Hongjian said calmly, you entered the palace not long ago last year, so I'm not familiar with you. Ye Chen. After all, he was already the emperor and empress at that time, but Luo Hongjian didn't even know her. Little sadness. Besides, I don't even know when your birthday is. Luo Hongjian said. Ye Chen said confidently, Hongjian, you are His Majesty and I am the emperor. You don't know my birthday and you don't have any gifts. Do you think it's my problem or your own? This time it was Luo Hongjian's turn to be speechless. There's nothing wrong with saying that. She is the emperor. Ye Chen is her empress. She should care about him and give him gifts on her birthday. I was wrong, I will give you a replacement gift. After being silent for a while, Luo Hongjian spoke. Ye Chen was secretly happy, if in his previous life, men would only be able to give out gifts. If the gift you buy is not what you want, your girlfriend or wife will lose your temper. For beauty, there is no need for supplements. My birthday is in winter, on the first day of the 12th lunar month. This year, I am 25 years old, almost 2 years older than you. Ye Chen said with a smile. Luo Hongjian silently remembered it in her heart. She didn't care about Ye Chen's birthday before, but now she already cares. Not long after, Luo Hongjian's imperial chariot arrived at the Purple Dragon Palace, and Ye Chen held her hand and walked down. Sister Hongjian, brother-in-law, I have been waiting for you for a long time. Entering the Purple Dragon Palace, Luo Yudi's cheerful voice immediately sounded, and she and concubine Shu came over. Concubine Shu greeted Ye Chen with a smile. She knew that Ye Chen would definitely come this year. Hongjian, since it's your birthday today, I'll take care of the dinner. You don't need to prepare them in the imperial dining room. Just bring some fresh ingredients. Ye Chen said with a smile. It's my wife's birthday, so I still have to show off. Luo Hongjian should be very satisfied with the delicacies prepared by her god-level cooking skills. Can you cook? Luo Hongjian was confused. The next second, Luo Hongjian's eyes showed an apologetic look. She remembered that Ye Chen had been an orphan since he was a child. He had supported himself since he was a child, so he must be able to cook. Then I will try your craft today. Luo Hongjian chuckled and said, she didn't think Ye Chen could be very good at this, but Ye Chen was willing to do it, and it would be great if he had the heart to do it. All kinds of fresh ingredients were delivered quickly, everything you need. Purple Dragon Palace is quite large and has a large kitchen, which is usually not used. System, equipped with god-level cooking skills. Ye Chen said silently. A large amount of information quickly poured into his mind, and he completely mastered the recipes of various cuisines in his previous life. Even if he was an imperial chef in his previous life, he probably wouldn't be at his current level. I didn't expect that the seasoning gift pack I got from signing in before was actually used. Ye Chen had a smile on his face. Half a year ago, he signed in and received a C-level gift bag, which contained various condiments. At that time, Ye Chen disliked it so much. Gazing across the ingredients, various dishes quickly appeared in Ye Chen's mind. Start. Ye Chen acted quickly. 2 hours later, Ye Chen stopped with a satisfied smile on his face. He cooked a total of 12 dishes. It was enough for the 4 of them. Someone, take them out. Ye Chen gave the order, and a maid immediately entered and brought plates of covered dishes into the dining room in the Purple Dragon Palace. Ye Chen went to ask Luo Hongjian and the others to eat. Entering the main hall of Purple Dragon Palace, Ye Chen saw that there was a man there, and he was a handsome guy. See the Emperor and Empress, I am Sidhu Ren of the Sidhu family. I learned that His Majesty's birthday is today, so I personally cooked some delicious food and brought it to His Majesty to taste. The man cupped his hands and smiled. Ye Chen narrowed his eyes, he knew that Sidhu Ren was the second son of the Sidhu family. Wei Yutang came to her in private before and said that the Sidhu family wanted Sidhu Ren to become the imperial concubine. Ye Chen said something to Wei Yutang, and he thought the matter was over. I didn't expect that Sidhu Ren was so evil that he would find such an opportunity to come over. Luo Hongjian sent a message to Ye Chen, Ye Chen, Sidhu Ren is the second son of the Southwest King. He has come outside to ask for an audience. I have no choice but to not let him in. Ye Chen smiled at Luo Hongjian. Luo Hongjian actually hurriedly explained it to him, which was very good. You must know that Luo Hongjian is the Empress. Even if she doesn't explain, what can he say as the Empress? Sidhu Ren, I also cooked today. If your Majesty is not used to eating the food I cook, How about eating yours? Ye Chen smiled lightly. Sidu Ren said proudly, no problem. He has absolute confidence in himself. Even if Ye Chen had cooked before entering the palace, could the food eaten by ordinary people be the same as the food eaten by the emperor? Ye Chen may not even know the top ingredients. If Luo Hongjian's stomach is captured and Luo Hongjian realizes his intentions, Sidu Ren believes that he will have a chance. As for Ye Chen's obstruction, as long as Luo Hongjian agrees, what does Ye Chen mean? Your Majesty, Aunt Chu, Chang'e, let's go over and have dinner. Ye Chen smiled. Luo Hongjian and the others immediately went to the dining room with Ye Chen, and Sidu Ren shamelessly followed them. He was carrying a big food box in his hand. Empress, if your food tastes average, don't force your Majesty to eat it. After all, it's his birthday today. Sidu Ren said with some contempt. My brother-in-law's cooking must be delicious. Luo Yudi glared at Sidu Ren and said, she thought this guy was very annoying here. Sidu Ren said calmly, Princess Chang'e, that's not necessarily the case. As far as I know, after entering the palace, the emperor and the empress usually read books, bask in the sun, and take it easy. In order to make His Majesty eat well, I trained hard with top chefs for half a year. Ye Chen said with a smile, Sidu Ren, I will have a good talk with His Majesty when the palace arrives and transfer you to the imperial dining room. Chang'e couldn't help laughing. Sidu Ren's face turned red. He wanted to become the imperial concubine and replace Ye Chen as the empress in the future. He didn't want to enter the imperial dining room. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Di. Chapter 58. Ye Chen ignored Sidu Ren anymore. Sidu Ren's idea of becoming an imperial concubine was just a fantasy. Luo Hongjian has already promised him that as long as he reaches the innate level of cultivation within 5 years, he will not look for the imperial concubine. He now has the 9th level of strength of the God Emperor. Hongjian, Aunt Chu, Chang'e, let me introduce you. Ye Chen smiled and took away the silver lid covering one of the dishes. This dish is Westlake vinegar fish. This dish is dongpo meat. Steamed vachame fish. Buddha jumped over the wall. Ye Chen introduced each dish one by one. Every dish looked exquisite, and the aroma filled the air when the lid was lifted. Sidu Ren could smell the strong aroma from several meters away. He couldn't help but swallow. Even if he just looked at the appearance and smelled the aroma, he felt that the taste of these dishes was absolutely the same. Happy birthday, Hongjian. I will be there for every birthday of yours from now on. Ye Chen smiled. Luo Hongjian looked at the table of dishes and was moved. It shouldn't be possible to make it like this for the first time. Ye Chen may have practiced secretly many times. Luo Hongjian nodded slightly, and there was a little more affection in her eyes when she looked at Ye Chen. Even though she is an emperor, she is still a woman, and she is only 23 years old, so she is still relatively easy to be moved. In particular, she already had Ye Chen in her heart. Next to him, Sidu Ren's face was gloomy. It was unpleasant to eat dog food at such a close distance. He is not blind, he can clearly see that Luo Hongjian has a lot of affection for Ye Chen. There are rumors that Luo Hongjian does not go to Fengming Palace for 10 days and a half, and that Ye Chen, the empress, is just a mascot, which is completely nonsense. Concubine Shu had a smile on her face. The fact that Luo Hongjian and Ye Chen can love each other is better than anything else in her opinion. Sister Hongjian, eat it quickly, I can't hold it anymore. Luo Yudi said pitifully, these dishes looked so delicious that she had to swallow her saliva several times. Chang'e, just eat. Luo Hongjian smiled and said that she moved her chopsticks first. She knew that if she didn't move, Xu Fei and Chang Li would not move either. Luo Hongjian was already prepared to eat as much as possible no matter how unpalatable it was. But when the food hit her mouth, she was stunned. So delicious. The taste is quite different from the imperial meal she usually eats, but it is not inferior to the imperial meal, but more delicious. Hee, let's start. Luo Hongjian moved her chopsticks, and Luo Yudi did the same immediately. Her tongue would be swallowed by her in the next second. Brother-in-law, it's so delicious. Sister Hongjian, mother, try this quickly. It's delicious. Luo Yudi was extremely shocked. She felt that the food tasted much better than the food cooked by the imperial chef. A smile appeared on Ye Chen's face. God-level cooking skills are no joke. Taste of hometown. Ye Chen himself started to move quickly, with a look of longing in his eyes. He missed the people and things in his previous life. In this life, he has been an orphan since he was a child and has no friends. Empress, the dishes cooked by the imperial chef are not as good as yours. Concubine Shu soon tasted a few dishes, and she praised them sincerely. Ye Chen smiled and said, Aunt Shu, maybe you are tired of eating the food made by the imperial chef, so you think my cooking is not bad. Luo Hongjian shook her head. Ye Chen, Aunt Shu is right, the food made by the imperial chef is indeed not as good as yours. I'm determined. After speaking, Luo Hongjian continued to cook, and Aunt Shu and Chang Li were not idle either. 12 dishes were almost finished by Ye Chen and the others. Luo Hongjian, concubine Shu, and Princess Changle actually eat less. The amount of food eaten in this meal was at least 3 times the amount they usually eat. Your Majesty, Emperor, and Empress, I am not convinced. I want to eat something for comparison. Sidu Ren finally couldn't help but speak. Ye Chen glanced at the table, only some fragments of dregs and some soup and water were left. Try it. Ye Chen said softly. Sidu Ren scooped up half a bowl of soup for himself, which was what was left in the jar where Buddha jumped over the wall. After one sip, Sidu Ren was stunned. This soup is incredibly delicious. He felt like what he usually ate was just garbage. What you do is even more rubbish. Gilug. After drinking all the soup in the bowl, Sidu Ren picked up the food box he brought and left in despair. I wanted to impress Luo Hongjian with her delicious food, but I didn't expect to be instantly killed by Ye Chen. Brother-in-law, I can't move anymore. Brother-in-law, the food you make is so delicious. Brother-in-law, you are so awesome. Luo Yudi admires the truth. Luo Hongjian glanced at Luo Yudi warily. She regards Luo Yudi as her own sister and is willing to share any good things with Luo Yudi, but not her own man. Concubine Shu secretly sighed in her heart, it would be great if Ye Chen was not the empress. She knew that Luo Yudi was obsessed with Ye Chen. I often chant it in the palace. It's just that Luo Yudi is still young now, so she may not realize that she likes Ye Chen. It seems we have to hurry up and arrange a marriage for Changle. Concubine Shu secretly thought. After resting for a while, Concubine Shu and Luo Yudi left the Purple Dragon Palace. In previous years, they would spend more time with Luo Hongjian, but now that Ye Chen is with her, Luo Hongjian is not alone. Ye Chen, accompany me for a walk in the royal garden. Luo Hongjian said. Ye Chen nodded slightly, he reached out and held Luo Hongjian's hand, and the two walked into the imperial garden. Maids, eunuchs, and many servants saw it, and they were surprised. Although they had been married for more than a year, Luo Hongjian and Ye Chen had never walked hand in hand like this. The poem you wrote last time was good. Luo Hongjian said softly. Ye Chen was secretly happy. Luo Hongjian was euphemistically asking for love poems. It seems that their relationship has been heating up recently. Maybe they can consummate their marriage someday. I wish to be a pair of wings in the sky, and a pair of branches on the ground. Ye Chen looked at Luo Hongjian and smiled. Luo Hongjian savored it carefully, and the smile on her face became more intense. Ye Chen, give me some more time, and when I break through to the level of God Emperor, We will consummate our marriage. Luo Hongjian lowered her voice. Ye Chen's eyes lit up. Although Luo Hongjian's voice was low, he was at the level of God Emperor, and he heard it clearly. Luo Hongjian is now at the 8th level of God King, and she will definitely reach the level of God Emperor in 1 year. Do we have to wait until the level of God Emperor? Ye Chen was a little impatient. There was no way, my wife was too beautiful, and I wanted to do it now. Luo Hongjian's eyes flashed. Although my throne is more stable than before, I am still trembling with fear, as if I am on the edge of an abyss, as if I am walking on thin ice. Once I lose the throne, I will never recover. If I have the cultivation of God Emperor, my throne will be much more stable. Ye Chen nodded gently. If Luo Hongjian is still a perfect virgin, her cultivation speed will be much faster. I'll wait for you. Ye Chen smiled and said, 1 year is not a long time. Besides, if he gets good things for Luo Hongjian in the future, Luo Hongjian will improve faster. The moonlight is good tonight, let's enjoy the moon. Luo Hongjian said and took Ye Chen to fly up. In a short time, they arrived at the moon viewing platform in the Imperial Garden. The two sat down, and Ye Chen hugged Luo Hongjian. Luo Hongjian hesitated for a moment and leaned her head on Ye Chen's shoulder. She felt the long-lost peace. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Di. Chapter 59. The night was long, and Ye Chen successfully climbed the mountain under the cover of night, but was soon driven down the mountain by Luo Hongjian. He vaguely remembered that the mountain was so big. Empress, His Majesty has said that you will be asked to return to Fengming Palace as soon as you wake up. Ye Chen got up and saluted Nangongning. Ye Chen laughed. It seemed that Luo Hongjian was shy and needed some time to buffer. A few days passed, and Xuanhuan, who left the palace, had no appetite. Second brother, I heard that you went to the palace and became depressed when you came back. What happened? Xuanhuan came to Xuanhuan's side. The two of them are now in Tianyang Imperial City, but they both have their own houses and do not live in the same place. Xuanhuan smiled bitterly and said, I have seen Luo Hongjian, and she is indeed as beautiful as the legend says. She is much more beautiful than the one in the painting. Even the goddess in heaven may not be as beautiful as her. But I have no hope of becoming the emperor's concubine. Even if I become the emperor's concubine, it is almost impossible to replace Ye Chen as the emperor and empress. Xuanhuan patted Xuanhuan on the shoulder. Second brother, I said before that Ye Chen is not easy to mess with, but you don't believe it. Xuanhuan's eyes flashed coldly. Brother, so I am thinking that in order to become the emperor's concubine and the empress, Ye Chen must be dealt with. Should we cooperate with Prince Mu and others? Xuanhuan's face changed. You are crazy. Can we cooperate with Prince Mu on something like murdering the emperor and empress? By then, he will have a huge handle on us. Xuanhuan shouted. Xuanhuan said in a deep voice, Brother, think about it. If we cooperate like this, who is more afraid of the news being exposed? We have the handle in Prince Mu's hands, and Prince Mu also has the handle in our hands. In the palace, the eunuchs Wang and Cai under the Queen Mother are missing, and it is very likely that they are all dead. Pei Xiang is dead outside the palace, and the struggle in secret is already very fierce. Xuanhuan frowned. He thought of his illness. He still has to go to Ye Chen once a month. What if Ye Chen dies and no one can solve his problems? Second brother, this matter is very important. It is not something you and I can decide. Report it to father and let father decide. Don't be depressed all day, participate in various activities to show yourself. You have a high hope of becoming an empress in the future. Xuanhuan said in a deep voice. Yes, brother. Sidu Ren nodded, and his spirits were lifted a lot. It's good to have an idea and a plan. After Ye Chen's death, Luo Hongjian will definitely find the Empress. With internal and external troubles, Luo Hongjian asked someone from their Sidu family to become the Empress and Empress, which could stabilize the situation. Sidu Yan said, "Second brother, I came here not only to visit you, but also to discuss with you. We can't act rashly with Prince Mu, but we can contact the 6 major paper-making families. The Lin family is under a lot of pressure now. The paper sold by Royal Paper is now super cheap, and the 6 major paper-making families are priced 20 times higher. Countless people scold it every day." Sidu Ren said, "Brother, how can we help?" Sidu Yan smiled faintly, "The price of royal paper is so low, can the cost really be so low? This is a lie. We can provide a lot of funds to let the 6 major paper-making families order a lot of white paper at the price of the 3rd batch. If the royal family does not sell this paper, it means that the cost price of the royal family is not low." Sidu Ren's eyes lit up. "In this way, the 6 major paper-making families will have to remember our favor." Sidu Yan nodded slightly. "The 6 major paper-making families have a long history, especially the Lin family. Their strength is not weak. Even if we lose a little, it is a good thing to win over such a family. Speaking of which, we have to thank the Emperor and Empress. It was not easy to win over the Lin family in the past. The 6 major paper-making families are doing a monopoly business, and they don't usually ask for help." "Yeah." Sidu Ren nodded, "Brother, I support this. Sidu Yan is the prince, and Sidu Ren is the second son of the Sidu family. If both of them agree, the plan can be carried out. A large amount of funds from the Sidu family can be used." Soon Sidu Yan and his team secretly contacted people from the 6 major paper-making families. The Sidu family provided 60 million taels of silver, and people from the 6 major paper-making families came forward to buy a large amount of white paper. The Sidu family and the 6 major paper-making families will each bear half of the profit and loss. "Are you sure you want to purchase another 60 million taels of silver worth of white paper?" Ye Chen said in a light voice. Lin Kaiji and his team found Luo Hongjian. Ye Chen was responsible for this matter, and Luo Hongjian still asked Ye Chen to talk to them. "Empress, you heard it right," Lin Kaiji said in a deep voice. Ye Chen was silent for a while before saying, "Master Lin, I advise you to be cautious about this matter. You have already purchased a lot. If you buy a lot of paper again, who will you sell it to? Even if the royal family stops selling, so much paper may not be consumed in the Tianyang dynasty in 10 years. Lin Kaiji and others were sure in their hearts. Ye Chen's words, in their view, showed that he had no confidence. The cost of paper is likely to be much higher than the current selling price. "Empress, you don't have to worry about this. We have our own way," Lin Kaiji said with a smile. Ye Chen frowned slightly. "Master Lin, your majesty is the king, you are the people, the royal family makes this money again, and it will not sound good if it spreads that it forces you into a desperate situation, so forget about this deal." The head of the Tao family chuckled and said, "Empress, even if we lose money, it's over the top to say that we are being pushed to the edge. We, the 6 major paper-making families, have accumulated a lot of experience over a long period of time, and we still have some foundation. If your majesty has such concerns, we can indicate in the contract that we strongly request the purchase." Lin Kaiji and the other 5 heads of the family nodded. The money was paid by the Sidu family, and the risk was borne by the Sidu family. They are not afraid. Besides, the royal family should not be able to bear Ye Chen's current state. Ye Chen was drinking tea, and he was silent for a longer time. Lin Kaiji and the others were not idle. They prepared the contract with a smile, and they added new clauses considerately, indicating that they strongly requested the royal family to sell the 4th batch of paper. They even wrote that your majesty and the empress had clearly informed them of the risks and persuaded them. Empress, please see if there are any more clauses in this contract. If you need it, you can tell us, and we will add more. Lin Kaiji smiled. With Ye Chen's reaction, he bet that the cost of the royal family's paper must not be that cheap. Even very expensive. The first batch of paper was not very large in quantity, and the price they offered was not low. The royal family should not have lost much, and it might even have made a small profit. But the price of the second batch of paper was only 3.3 times the original normal price. The royal family is likely to lose money. Ye Chen said indifferently, 6 family heads, if His Majesty's seal is stamped, you will have no chance to regret. I will give you the last quarter of an hour to think about it. Lin Kaiji smiled and said, Empress, it seems that there is no problem with this clause. We don't need to consider it anymore. After that, Lin Kaiji was the first to sign his name and stamp his hand on the contract. This batch of paper will be delivered within 1 year, and it can be delivered earlier but not later. Empress, we are sincere in buying it. Empress, hurry up and let His Majesty stamp the seal. The heads of the Tao family also quickly signed their names and stamped their hands, and they were all smiling. As long as I stay in the Empress Palace, I am invincible. Author, New Di. Chapter 60. Crack. Crack. Luo Hongjian stamped the Emperor's seal. In duplicate. The 6 major paper-making families took away a contract with satisfaction. Ye Chen, the 6 aristocratic families will probably go crazy by then. Luo Hongjian put away another contract and said. Ye Chen said cheerfully, I don't know which force supported them. They shouldn't be able to get the 60 million taels of silver by themselves now. What an unexpected surprise. I don't know either. Luo Hongjian shook her head. The Tianyang dynasty was founded 18,000 years ago, and some forces within the territory have been inherited even longer than the Tianyang dynasty. The people have no money, but there are many powerful forces with money. The imperial treasury was not richer than them before. The treasury has only been full since Ye Chen entered the palace. You can earn a lot like this 60 million taels. Lin Kaiji and others thought that the white paper presented by the royal family was now sold at a loss, but in fact the price was only the cost price of the Lin family and others. The cost price of royal white paper is only half of this price. At least 45 million of the 60 million is profit. The first 70 million is at least 55 million taels in profit, and the total profit will definitely reach 100 million taels. It would take at least 10 years to earn 100 million taels from normal sales. Ye Chen smiled and said, no matter which force comes in to target us at this time, we deserve to fall into the trap. Good. Luo Hongjian nodded. Ye Chen, you and I will come out of the palace later. The old Tai Wei's father is celebrating his 400th birthday. He is close to running out of oil and won't live much longer. Ye Chen said, Hongjian, is it right for the Tai Wei to control the army? Does he support you? Luo Hongjian said, yes, the Tai Wei controls the army. I am the emperor and he naturally supports me, but it is not necessarily true that he is absolutely loyal to me. In the Tianyang dynasty, the Tai Wei was in charge of the military. Taishi is a civil leader. The status of the prime minister is slightly higher, and he has certain jurisdiction over military affairs and government affairs. However, the power of the prime minister is checked and balanced by the power of the Tai Wei and Taishi. The military power of the prime minister is not as high as that of the Tai Wei. Ye Chen smiled and said, Hongjian, you are very talented. Now you are almost at the level of God Emperor. The Tai Wei is also a practitioner. He should be more sympathetic to you. Just relax. Luo Hongjian nodded slightly. She had to go on this trip, and it was best for Ye Chen to go too. If Lieutenant Dong's support for her were stronger, Wei Yutang would also be more determined. Ye Chen, it turns out that your words are an excellent gift, but now that Prime Minister Pei has died, it is difficult to give them. Luo Hongjian sighed. Xiang Pei died after Ye Chen sent the message. Although this had nothing to do with Ye Chen sending the message, he was afraid that others would not respond. Hongjian, prepare a gift. Ye Chen smiled and said, Luo Hongjian is the emperor, and there are quite a lot of good things in the treasure house. Luo Hongjian nodded slightly. An hour later, Ye Chen and the others left the palace, guarded by 5,000 black dragon guards. Luo Hongjian's imperial chariot and Ye Chen's phoenix chariot arrived at the Taiwei mansion half an hour later. A large number of guests have arrived. Prime Minister Wei Yutang has come, but Tai Shipeng has not come. He and Tai Weidong are not getting along well. Prince Mu didn't come either. He is the prince, and Tai Weidong is in charge of the military. Imperial law originally prohibited the prince from getting too close to the Taiwei. See your majesty, see the emperor and empress. Tai Weidong saluted and greeted him, and a large number of other guests also saluted. Ye Chen saw Sidu Yan and Sidu Ren among the crowd, and Lin Kaiji and the others were also among them. Luo Hongjian raised her hand, excuse me, I'm just a guest here today, no need to be polite. Thank you, your majesty. Everyone said in unison. Soon Ye Chen and the others were welcomed into the Taiwei mansion. There was a faint smile on Ye Chen's face. He had never been here before, but he could sign in once. Only 2 of the 3 opportunities this month have been used. Your Majesty, the old man is a living dead. He is not in good health and did not go out to greet me. I hope your Majesty will forgive me. Ye Chen and the others met Dong Taiwei's old father. He looks really old. There are deep wrinkles on his face, his hair is withered and white, and there is a deathly aura emanating from his body. This will be in a wheelchair, trying to sit up as straight as possible. Tai Weidong's old father was also a soldier back then. He was a general and had a level of cultivation at the level of a god emperor. The lifespan of a normal god emperor level expert can reach 700 years, or even 500 or 600 years at a discount. Dong Taiwei's old father was injured too many times while fighting for his country. The old general is serious. The old general served the country throughout his life and is an example for countless people to follow. Luo Hongjian said gently, I brought something to replenish the old general's health. Next to him, Eunuch Yan handed Tai Weidong a gift list with many gifts listed on it. On behalf of my father, I would like to thank your majesty. Lieutenant Dong said lukewarmly. Ye Chen paid attention to Tai Weidong's situation. Tai Weidong's support for Luo Hongjian was probably superficial. Sidu Ren stood up at this time and said with a smile, Your Majesty, the Emperor's calligraphy is superb, and the divine calligraphy is the best in the world. I wonder if there is any calligraphy of the Emperor that we can appreciate this time. The Empress's calligraphy is indeed amazing. That's right. Some other people also spoke one after another, and Ye Chen really took out his calligraphy. If Dong Taiwei's father died soon, Dong Taiwei would probably not have a good look on Ye Chen. As we all know, Captain Dong is a filial son. His mother died young, and his father raised him and taught him martial arts. Dong Taiwei respected his father very much. Lin Kaiji stroked his beard and smiled and said, Empress, you should have made a lot of money by trading with our 6 major paper-making families. You should also give me another gift in addition to His Majesty's gift. Many people present looked strange. Lin Kaiji and others had already discussed the 4th transaction with some others and told Ye Chen's reaction at that time. The royal family is likely to suffer a blood loss. Luo Hongjian was annoyed, but before she came in, she said that she was just a guest. It would be hard to support Ye Chen as an emperor at this moment. As for Ye Chen's status as emperor and empress, Sidu Ren, Lin Kaiji and others don't care at all. In the eyes of some of them, Ye Chen is just a lucky loser. My hands have been hurting recently, and it's difficult for me to write. But I can give you another gift. Old general, just don't dislike it? Ye Chen smiled. The old general tried to make his voice louder and said, Empress, you have already given the old man face by coming here. The gift is not important. The old man will not live long and will not be able to use anything. Thank you, old general, for your understanding. Ye Chen said that his impression of Tai Wei Dong was average, but his impression of General Dong was quite good. Luo Hanjian was a little worried. Some of Sidu Yan and others are very brave. If Ye Chen's gift is not good, Sidu Yan and others will not be polite. There are many people who want to remove Ye Chen from the position of emperor and empress. Old general, this is a gift from me. Ye Chen took out a small jade bottle with half a bottle of water in it, ordinary water. Neither is spiritual water. Sidu Yan, Sidu Ren, Lin Kaiji and many of them were stunned when their consciousness swept over them. Ha ha. Sidu Ren suddenly laughed out loud, Empress, you really do not care about courtesy but value friendship. Lin Kaiji snorted coldly and said, Empress, General Dong has been in the army all his life. Isn't it good for you to tease General Dong like this? Luo Hanjian's heart was raised, and she also scanned with her consciousness. The results of the spiritual scan showed that the bottle was half full of well water, not even a sip.